Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. Today we have on Jake Brown, who is on Mets Daily on YouTube, as well as a Sports Illustrated writer for the Mets. Jake, how are we doing today?
Finally, it's a good time to cover the Mets these last 2 years. Prior to last year, it's been miserable, but they've brought some joy to Mets fans' lives. It's been orange and blue skies. It was gray skies yesterday and Wednesday and for many, many years, but they've been, mostly orange and blue for the last, 7-8 months.
Yeah, definitely a changing of the tide. And I wanted to kind of bring in, obviously, we do Yankees here on the show, and I wanted to get more of a Mets vibe check and feel on things. So obviously, this is going to be a preview for the much anticipated Subway Series Yankee Stadium with Juan Soto returning to the stadium. So first off, just thoughts on the Mets to this point in the first month and a half of the season.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Subway Series. I'm writing a story tonight on why this Subway Series has a little bit more juice than many, many years in the past. I mean, the Mets have been pretty damn good. I mean, they're dealing with a lot of injuries. They still have the second most wins in baseball, behind a team like the Tigers and the Dodgers, who we all expected to be there. We didn't expect the Tigers to be there. But, dealing with the injuries and playing as messy as they have at times. I mean, the series versus the Pirates was messy, but they find a way to scratch out wins. To have 9 or 10 one-run losses, those are going to become wins. When you're fully stocked and you're healthy, when the umpires aren't missing a call right in front of you that you can't challenge, those losses will be wins. So, I don't know. If you're a Met fan, it's hard to complain at this point. You're in first place. You're in a really tough division. You got some luck with the Braves off to a bad start, although they are turning it around. I think they're going to get hot this summer now with Acuna coming back as well. And once they get Profar back from the suspension, they're going to be right there with the Mets and Phillies. So in a tough division with all the injuries they've battled through, without 3 starting pitchers, if you want to include Paul Blackburn, I can't be mad at how good the Mets have been so far.
Yeah, definitely off to a great start. And, it's a little bit of a different look, but really it's a bit of a carryover from last year. Obviously, you don't have the OMG theme of last year and some of the grimace stuff, but certainly that winning sort of mentality has persisted from last year, where really it started off poorly and then they just really go on a run from, I guess, around mid-season forward to reaching the NLCS, and now they've carried it over into this season. So obviously, to keep things, I guess, within the Yankees realms of things, Juan Soto becomes a Met. Much to the disappointment of all Yankee fans. Give me your thought. Obviously, for Soto, for his standards, a bit of a slower start by most normal people. The numbers aren't that bad, but just how has it been as far as Juan Soto becoming a Met?
I mean, it's annoying in my lives and chats, the Discord day-to-day of the box score watching, because, yes, I get it. His numbers are not his usual career numbers through the first 6 weeks. But, if people go back, he notoriously starts slow. This is, when he went to the Padres, he had the same exact thing. So, unfortunately, people just go back to, look what he did at the overall season. Look, he's not doing that. Well, it's May 15th. It's not October 15th. So, to judge a full season over 6 weeks is just stupid. So I think he's underperformed, but not drastically. He still has 7 home runs. He's still on pace to be probably a 30-homer guy. And, what I talked about when they got him was the domino effect that he's going to have on this lineup. And Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso are having career starts. They've never been this good this early. So while Juan Soto has been average early, those 2 guys in front of him and behind him are off to career starts, to the fact that Francisco Lindor, for the first time as a Met, is probably going to be an all-star. I mean, it's insane to say that, but he hasn't been an all-star in a Mets uniform. And I'm not saying that's all Soto's doing, but you can't tell me it doesn't help that he's hitting behind him and in front of Pete. And the numbers show, the stats show, the amount of pitches you get in the strike zone, the percentage is higher or it's lower. He's getting less pitch in the strike zone than he did last year. And obviously having Aaron Judge behind him helped last year. So I think he's going to get comfortable. I honestly think he's going to get ignited this weekend, and by the fact that Carlos Mendoza didn't play him on Wednesday. He was fighting to play. It ended up being, I think, the right move. The weather was sloppy. It was a monsoon mid-game. I think it's fine that he gets 1 day off every 2 months. He averages 156 a year. He had in 2023, he played all 162, but who in today's age plays 162? I'm fine, even if everyone's going to say he makes 800 million. He should be out there 162 times. If he misses one game every 2 months, plays 158, 159, I'm perfectly fine with that. But yeah, I've been okay with him. Defensively, he's been fine. I know Yankee fans will go to clips of balls he didn't catch, but he technically is not making errors. He's maybe just not getting to balls that other right fielders will get to.
Yeah, and I guess further to your point, and look, last night's Met game with the weather being weird, look, further evidence, but the fact that Soto wasn't in the lineup, maybe did have an effect on the rest of the lineup, even if he's not the one that's always that lightning rod so far as it's been with Alonso and Lindor. Soto not in that number 2 hole, certainly you could feel those effects. And yeah, him not being in the lineup, what's the point? I mean, it's about the long run. And obviously it's going to be an emotionally taxing weekend for Juan Soto. He handles this stuff well. Look, for me, it hurt to see him go. Juan Soto is as an offensive player, is as good as it comes, and he's really good in the clutch. He's won a World so that's the thing. Look, and
I think that's where Mets fans complain too. He's not hit with runners in scoring position. I think he's hitting 150. With you guys, he hit like 500. So he's not there in the clutch yet. So I think once he has that Mets moment, like his Mets moment was like an RBI ground out to tie the game the other day. Like he once he has that moment, that walk-off homer, and I think fans wanted it opening day against the Astros, and he struck out and everyone laughed at him. Once he has those couple of big Met moments, that's when people are going to be like, all right, I'm glad he's a Met.
Right. And it does take some time, obviously, as situations are different. I remember Jason Giambi having his Yankee moment in the rain against the Twins in 2002 in May. Also, sometimes it takes a little bit of time. And the Yankee situation was a little bit different. He knew he was going to be a free agent. He did hit the ground running there, but this is more, it's a longer look. This is a potentially rest of career situation. So, I think for him, it's a matter of when. Look, as a Yankee fan, I certainly don't mind him not putting up these gargantuan numbers, but it's going to happen. It just is.
It's coming, and when it comes, with how good the rest of the lineup is doing, and think Nimmo has not been Nimmo, although he's turning out a bit lately. Same with Vientos, turning it out a bit lately. When he gets going, watch out, because Alonso, I think, is in a bit of a cold stretch and will get in one. I think everyone wanted to say, look at what Alonso's done in the first. He's not going to hit 330, and I think there's some fans who actually think he's going to do that. He's not. He might hit 280, 290. He's going to regress. You're seeing it a bit now. You're going to see bits and pieces throughout the season where he regresses. So in those times, in those dark times when the middle of your order is not hitting, that's when Juan Soto needs to come together. And the guy's a winner. I mean, in 6 full seasons, he's won 2 pennants and a World Series in those 2 pennants. A third of the time in your career in a full year to win a pennant is pretty damn good in this league.
And to do it with the Washington Nationals as well. I mean, certain situations to do it as well. The guy is... It's shocking that what is he, 26 years old? It's crazy. I mean, his demeanor and his presence is of someone who is much older than that. So
I think he's missed Jose Siri too. And a lot of people want to talk about he looks unhappy in the dugout. I do think he misses Siri's presence. Those are 2 guys, their first language is Spanish. They were a party and all, spring training. Those 2 guys were the go-to. They were laughing. They had the circles of guys going. So I think he misses his presence. I think that was one of his besties, one of his guys, which I think, at one point they did love each other. And I think now that they're teammates, they did. I know that they did like each other before they came to the Mets. And that, I think, turned when they became teammates. And sometimes you don't realize, the people you don't like are the ones that are most I sometimes hate people because they remind me of me and I hate some things about them. And I think that's what they were. Young, big egos, celebrate a homer, ladies, men, single, in their 20s. That's what Siri and Soto are. And I think they saw that in each other. And then what happened, obviously, the blow up with the Yankees, Rays, and everything that happened there. So I think they started to like each other, and then Siri got hurt. So I'm excited to see that dynamic. And I think once he does get in a groove, you're going to see more smiling. I think people are just looking at the camera. There's people clipping look, on the walk-off, he wasn't celebrating. I'm like, oh, stop it. People are reaching on a lot of these things.
Definitely. And it's interesting. I didn't know about the Siri thing. I knew that he kind of looked up to Starling Marte as a mentor. But what's interesting is, I'm trying to think back to the Yankees. it's not like he was Mr. Smiley. I mean, sure, he seemed happy enough for large portions of the season. But I just don't think him at a neutral level is necessarily someone that is like a Francisco Lindor who's going to be, smiling all the time too. So I think it's a lot of reaching going on.
And him and Pete Alonso aren't going to be here ever. Like, I think people want Alonso and Soto to be besties. Baseball clubhouses work, guys go in cliques. That's just how it is. People might say, no, that's not true. I've heard it. I've seen it. I've heard from, friends, family, like it's cliques. So you're not having Juan Soto on Dykeman on a Friday night with Pete Alonso. You're not. Juan Soto is with his pregnant wife on a Friday night. He's not with, potentially Juan Soto smoking hookah on Dykeman. Like, it's just two different worlds that they're living in. I'm not saying that's all Juan Soto's doing, but he's 26, single, and in the prime of his career and the richest man in the sport. So they're both in different lifestyles, different worlds. Like Jeff McNeil and Juan Soto aren't going golfing. I guarantee you couldn't pay Juan Soto to go golfing with Jeff McNeil. So certain situations, you just hope they coexist on the field, they coexist in the clubhouse, and they go upon their ways, and you hope that winning and success on the field makes them a close-knit unit. But you can't expect the guy with the biggest contract in sports, yes, he's got a big ego, to smile all the time. And I think he's probably unhappy with his performance. Like, he wants to be hitting 300. He wants to be hitting piss missiles every night. And he's got 7 homers, and 4 of those homers have essentially, I believe, come in 2 games. So they haven't been spread out. So I think this weekend he's going to be ignited. He's going to get in a groove. And, man, it's going to be fun to watch no matter what he does. Because, listen, he was there 1 year. I think Yankee fans have taken it a bit too far with the box score watching. And I get it. Like, there was a girl last summer that I really liked. And it lasted maybe like a month or 6 weeks. And, there's still to this day, you think about that person. I'm like, yeah, she was beautiful. Like, I hope she's still single, or I hope I see her again. Maybe I'll see her at Yankee Stadium this weekend. So, I get the scenario. But, like, he was there 1 year to cry a year later about it, and it makes it tougher when Judge, fell asleep in the postseason. Like, Judge is the guy now, and he's having a historic year so far. He's going to have a historic year, but the key with Aaron Judge is if he has another October like he did last year, people are going to start questioning, like, do we love Aaron Judge like he's the king of New York like he is during the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, on this channel, I was very, very vocal about Judge's struggles in the postseason. On the flip side, Soto to me was just like, he was the guy you wanted up there. Not that it's a Soto versus Judge thing. Judge is obviously, done things that are absolutely insane, like in the regular season. But in the postseason, it remains to be seen. He has been a flop by and large in the postseason. Whereas, Soto and Stanton were the 2 guys, if you're a Yankee fan, that you wanted up there in a big situation. I think when it comes to it, the Yankee fans look, let's just call a spade. It's disappointment over someone, even if it was just for a year. Like the Yankees, when they typically, my time as being a Yankee fan, when they want someone, they will typically find a way to make it work. And so for an A to not happen with Juan Soto, and then for B and for him to go cross down to the Mets, there's just a lot of bitterness. Right. So I think it's coming from a place of probably, look, there's jealousy. Like, I think that you have to kind of know where the reasons are coming from. Of course, you want to, as a Yankee fan, people joke around, oh, Trent, and it's fun, I guess, like as far as like Trent Grisham having been in that Soto trade in the seasons he's having. I don't think anyone genuinely believes that a Trent Grisham or a Ben Rice is actually better than Juan Soto. I think it's more playing fun with the situation because, look, you're just lying to yourself if you're a Yankee fan if you didn't want Juan Soto involved. They've done a nice job of pivoting over and have really made some, nice quality moves to kind of piece things together. But the fact of the matter is that Juan Soto is, as good as it gets.
Yeah, and, Trent Grisham, shout out to him. He's not going to hit 290 and hit 40 homers, but he's a decent player. And, yeah, and I think it's the Mets thing. And that's why I'm going to write tonight about the extra juice of this series because of that. Like, there is the jealousy thing. There are the Yankee fans that are like, Mets fans are cocky now because they're in first place. But think about it. Like, when has a Mets team come into the Subway Series with just a better team than the Yankees? And that's not me being biased. I think the Mets just right now are better than the Yankees are, coming off a year where they almost won a pennant. Now, the Yankees won the pennant. So that's the other layer is both teams are really good. One won a pennant. The other was 2 wins from a pennant. One lost in the World Series. Others say that if the Mets made it, they would have spanked the Yankees. So there's that element of it too. There's the juice is just overflowing. The Soto is the biggest story, but the fact both teams are winning, the Mets have a better record right now. Like most experts would probably say the Mets have a better shot right now, although the American League is more wide open with the Dodgers being so good. Like, there's just so many layers to this story, and it doesn't happen often. Like, think about it. Like, 2006 to 2007, you had 22 to 23, but the Mets weren't good in 23. You have 2000 going to 2001, but the Yankees were far better than the Mets in 2001. It's the Subway Series launched in, 97? So it's maybe 2 or 3 other times where it had this kind of juice, and this could arguably be the most juice of them all in the history of the Subway Series, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's funny you say that because, I think about it hasn't really overlapped. Some of the Yankees, they've been over 500 every year since 93. For the Mets, but I'm thinking about some of the Mets' good years as well. The Yankees in that sort of mid-2010s weren't great, where the Mets had some successes. So it really hasn't quite aligned, where the Mets were, good in 15 and 16. And the Yankees, they made the playoffs in 15, didn't make it in 16. They were kind of in a transition at that time. So this really has to be one of the biggest Subway Series. And for the fact, I think that this one being Yankee Stadium, I think it's perfect for the storylines with the Soto return.
And not to say there won't. Even 2015, though, we look back, the Mets had Eric Campbell in June hitting cleanup. Like, they had John Mayberry Jr. Like, they weren't even good that whole year. In 2016, right. Yes, but they lost in the wild card game. So that takes away almost that year, too. So you can maybe say 2016. You can maybe say 2000 because Yankees won 99. Mets were on the cusp of winning the NL, freaking Kenny Rogers and the walk home. So it's maybe 2 years prior to this. Right.
And 2000, and this I'm actually going to segue over because, you were telling me it's an interesting story how you've actually been to at least one Subway Series game since 2000, sans the COVID 2020 year. But 2000 was actually, I was actually away in sleepaway camp that summer. But that, I believe, was the one where Piazza gets hit in the head by Clemens. So obviously there's, definitely vitriol to an extent then, more so once they hit the Subway Series and the World Series. But I want to talk about that, some of your personal memories as far as, again, some of these head-to-head matchups between the Yankees and the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one. Like, and the fact that it's a quarter century later, you have the Knicks storyline of a quarter century later trying to clinch the Eastern Conference Finals against the team they lost to in 2000. So, it's 2000 and this. It's that was the first year and it led to the World Series. Maybe this is a preview this weekend of the World. Maybe we finally get the much awaited Subway Series World Series. We were on the brink last year. We were right there. We ran into the Avengers, then you ran into the Avengers, and unfortunately the Avengers, Goliath beat David. You can't beat the Avengers sometimes. Those guys are just too big. So it's 2000. I started going, me and my dad probably went to one Subway Series game in 2000. And then when it became the World Series, I was like, wow, this is going to be incredible, this rivalry. And I don't know. I didn't intend in 2000, 25 years later, to be going every year, but you start going to one each year and you fall in love, like sellouts. It was always Friday through Sunday. They changed it to the fluky Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2 and 2, which is garbage. No awareness by Major League Baseball. I don't care that it's going to sell out any day of the week. Friday through Sunday only. Give it me 2 weekends. I think this weekend in July, 4th of July, are pretty cool. September's kind of cool too if you do summer and then September, but I'm not going to complain about that. Just give me 3 and 3 as long as it's not in April and the weather's shitty. So 3 and 3 Subway Series. And I just made it a tradition every year. I try to go to both stadiums every year. At first it was, one stadium. We were living in Connecticut. I was, 10, 12 years old. Then you get to college. I'm at Hofstra. I'm closer to the stadium. So I probably in college started at least going to one each one. And as they've gone on, now that I've been in media, I would try to get credentials all 3. This year I got Savvy Seats sending me to the 3 games, just standing room going to all 3 for free. So, grown from going as a fan. And, some years in July I might have to pay. We'll see. But trying to get, because it is a pricier ticket than a normal, Friday night game. It's maybe $75 to $100 to get in. So, I've made it a tradition, and I just love it. The Let's Go Yankees, Yankees suck chant. The Let's Go Mets, Let's Go Yankees. even the fights are kind of fun. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of fights this weekend. I just think I probably won't wear my Soto jersey shirt just to avoid any fights. I have a lot of Yankee fan friends. There's going to be a ton of people I know there. I'm going to be getting a lot of content over the weekend. I want to get Yankee fans, F Soto. I want to get those videos of what they think, their message to Juan Soto. I want to get Mets fans to kind of get a cool back and forth like you see. So a lot of cool content this weekend. But yeah, I love the Subway Series, and I'm going to keep it going. The fact that it's been 25 years, one, is pretty awesome, but two, makes me feel really old. I went from 9 years old to the Mordecai Money bar mitzvah Jake, to the college Jake, to the I'm in journalism Jake, to now I'm the yelling lunatic on Mets Daily Jake. And now out in New York for the first time. So this year I think is extra special for me. It's been the first year I'm not living in New York since really 2008, since I was 17. Couldn't legally drink, couldn't get a lottery ticket. I'm not in New York, so this one hits extra home for me. And 25, think about that. That is a cool milestone. You get to 25 years, that is a cool milestone. So this is going to be special for me this weekend in the Bronx.
Very cool. And you had talked about that you had gone to opening day, around a similar stretch, but had not realized about the Subway Series. Which is
22
really, really
years, cool. Home opener, and that's with my dad. So early on, it was my dad, and then, you get older, you live different places. You try to keep one tradition. Two is a little too many. So 22 years, honor Juan Soto. We started that in 2003. So that's been a great tradition. Living in different places, it's harder to make habits. So the one day a year, it's cool. Subway Series, it's tougher to time with scheduling. But 22 years with Pops, 25 years me. Some years I went with my brother, some with a friend. Sometimes I go solo, so it varies. But 22 and 25, those are my two Mets traditions.
Yeah, and I mean, again, a lot of symmetry as well, like you said, and interesting too. With the Knicks, as far as the 99 2000 sort of thing, which I guess is more Met centric, but kind of leading it all into now is actually kind of interesting. I guess with the Knicks Pacers having been at the forefront then and potentially now, but that's a story for another day.
In a tough schedule dilemma, I'm gonna have to leave the game early tomorrow to go watch the Knicks by the Garden. I got to be there I'm going to the game. I don't like leaving games early, but this is a Knicks potential clincher for the first time in a quarter century. I have to be by MSG, and if they win, party on 7th Ave. Bottles will be popping, people are going to be going. You're going to have all the people from the Garden, you're going to have the people at the local bars, you're going to have the people at the outside watch party, and then you're going to have people coming from Yankee Stadium, all on 7th Avenue. It's going to be at least 10, 15, 20,000 people outside, assuming the Knicks win. Let's pray, because I don't want to sweat Game 7. So it's going to be cinema. It's going to be really cool. And it's outside people will say, stop overreacting. They didn't win the championship. But if you know what I just said, 25 years since they've made a conference finals. It's laughable, right? Yes, but it is a reason to celebrate. Even if they lose to the Pacers again, if they make it, which I would hate. It's an epic moment for the Knicks franchise history. It's an epic moment for New York fans. And the fact it's the same night of Juan Soto's return and what we just talked about, this Subway Series. If you're not in New York City, you're not anywhere. It's New York or nowhere tomorrow night.
It is. And 26 years since the Knicks clinched a home playoff series as well.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild, too.
They always clinch on the road, I guess, when they do clinch.
Right, yeah. I believe 99, was the last time they had clinched a home playoff series. So just so much wrapped into one night with Yankees, Mets, Soto, Knicks, Celtics at MSG. So
and that was a lockout year, I believe. The 98-99 NBA was a lockout. So it wasn't even it was a fugazi kind of season. So now the Knicks have a chance in a real 82-game season. No pandemic, no lockouts, no viruses, no nothing. A chance to clinch. Let's go.
Yeah, it's going to be, definitely going to be insane. I myself, I'm definitely going on Sunday, and I'm trying to go tomorrow, just because I feel like that first Soto at bat. I think that's, if there was one moment, that is, I think, probably the biggest one. But
you gotta go. Ticket prices are going to drop because of the Knicks game and because of weather. I think the weather will be fine tomorrow. I think Saturday will be a delay for a little bit. But it's going to be nice eventually in the afternoon Saturday. I actually have a friend's bachelor party in the city Saturday, so I told him I'm going to be late. I'm going to be at the game. But who day drinks during the Subway Series anyway? Come on, bachelor party should be at night. This is daytime drinking. What are we in college again? Come on, you're getting married. Come on, get a clue here. Anyways, he's a Boston fan, so he doesn't understand Subway Series what it means. Just like the Knicks Twitter is having a party on July 5th. I'm like, it's the Subway Series at Citi Field. What do you mean you're having your Knicks Twitter, basketball game game Subway Series. Anyways, I digress. You got to go tomorrow, and I think the price will get under $100 to get it.
I'm pretty certain that I will be going tomorrow. It's a can't miss. That was the one I always wanted to go to. And I guess let's segue into, and you touched on it, just thoughts on, and let's preview this series. You got Tyler McGill versus Carlos Rodon in game 1. You have Griffin Canning against Clark Schmidt in game 2. And then finally, Sunday Night Baseball will be David Peterson against Max Fried. So just want to get your predictions and thoughts on the series.
Yeah, the best part about being there Sunday is not having to hear the ESPN broadcast always. I mean, it's RIP to them. Last year, the ESPN broadcast, it's just like the Knicks. If freaking Reggie Miller is on the call for the Eastern Conference Finals, I will pull my non-existent hair out. He should be banned from the broadcast in general, but he should be definitely banned when his former team is calling it against the team he hates in the Knicks. So right. I'm praying I don't have, my ears won't, I already have bad hearing anyway. I've been having ear issues. If I got to hear Reggie Miller, find me the local ear, nose, and throat doctor, because it's going to get ugly if I got to hear that loser on the call. I think the Mets take 2 out of 3. I just think they're playing well. I think they lose Sunday to Fried's been incredible. It's a tough matchup for guys like even Soto, Nimmo, Lindor. So I think the Mets win Friday and Saturday. And Tyler McGill has come back down to earth. But listen, I don't think Rodon is going to keep up these numbers. I think he's been a mediocre. He's getting paid to put up numbers like he is or better. But I think the Mets lineup and Soto's return is going to add some juice. And then Griffin Canning, he's due for a stinker, but the way he's pitching, he's in the Cy Young conversation, which is like scary when you think about Griffin Canning, who was arguably the worst pitcher in baseball. Just like Luis Severino the year before was the worst pitcher in baseball, came to the Mets, he was great. Griffin Canning gives up 31 homers to the Angels, where pitchers go to die out there, and he's been great this year. So maybe it's a little homer in me, but maybe it's just the Mets are playing good baseball for the most part. They're in first place. They got a better record than the Yankees. I think the Mets win Friday and Saturday, and they lose Sunday. I think Soto hits at least one homer, at least. I think it comes Saturday. Maybe he hits another tomorrow. I don't think he hits one off Fried, but I think he hits at least one homer on Friday or Saturday.
I also think, I don't want it. I desperately don't want it, but I do think that Soto will hit at least one homer in the series. How has Max Fried against the Mets? Obviously, that's a common matchup in recent years. I saw Lindor had very poor numbers against Max Fried, but can you recall in terms of, because Max Fried has very good numbers against the American League, even predating him coming to the Yankees. But is there a trend as far as Fried versus the Mets?
Well, quickly looking it up, he is 9-5 with an ERA of 2.48 and 113 strikeouts in 23 appearances against the Mets. So that tells you he's been pretty damn good. I mean, that's a big enough sample size. 23 starts for Max Fried. Last year, he made one start against the Mets and he shut him out. So we'll see. Last year was 7 innings, no runs. So yeah, the last couple starts, no runs, 1 run, 2. They haven't scored more than 2 runs against Max Fried since 2019. So yeah, okay. He dominates the Mets.
Okay.
But we'll see. You got Soto now. We'll see.
Right. And so from a Yankees perspective, I'm hoping for the split in the first, find a way to split the first 2 and then go into that last game with Fried on the bump. But yeah, it's going to be exciting.
And Peterson, 3 starts against the Yankees, 6.23, but that's a much smaller sample size there. And he also didn't go deep into any of those games. So he had 4 innings, 3 runs, a third of an inning, 2 runs. So that inflated the ERA, that a third of an inning, and then 4 1/3, 1 earned run. So he hasn't gone deeper. He's starting to go deeper into games now. This is a different David Peterson than when he's faced the Yankees the 3 times. So it's hard for me to talk about Sunday's matchup because the sample size is too small there.
Right. And, last year I remember the Mets were throwing out the lefty. The Yankees were not equipped. I mean, that's a conversation for another day as far as the Yankees versus lefties. The numbers have actually been tremendous. I think a big part is Goldschmidt's just been a terror versus lefties. The Judge's numbers are ridiculous versus lefties. But Peterson last year, they had him, I think, at least I remember there was the matchup at Citi Field where I guess he didn't go deep, but he was able. The Yankees, it was a poor lineup. That was when they had like J.D. Davis batting cleanup. It was really at its peak of just brutalness. But Peterson, I remember, pitched pretty well. He was able to navigate out of jams, if nothing else. I guess he didn't go the 5 innings, but that's probably more of a representation than maybe the ones that were further back. So And you get that with that short porch Yankee Stadium, having those lefties, can certainly limit some of the damage as well.
That's why I'm pissed we're facing two lefties, because I did want to, because I think even Jeff McNeil on Saturday might hit one. Like, McNeil's been using the torpedo bat. We've seen the Yankees hitter success with the torpedo bat. McNeil's got a bit of a better swing. I know, a lot of Met fans want him gone, and the fact is he's actually been solid since he got back a few weeks ago. So you got to give Jeff McNeil time. We get to see a little Luis Angel Acuna swiping some bags over the weekend, but you're seeing McNeil. It's going to be interesting. Will McNeil play center at Yankee Stadium? Like, that's going to be interesting to watch this weekend. And, I'd rather play righties. You get your chance on righties. Again, Soto hits lefties well. Guys can hit lefties. But I would have wanted to face like Will Warren and Clark Schmidt. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
Right. You'll get Schmidt on Saturday, and I guess we'll see a good amount of, with the lefties on the bump for 1 and 3, I guess we'll see a solid dose of Tyrone Taylor in center field. But McNeil probably, at the very least, is going to get that Game 2 nod. Against Schmidt.
Unfortunately, Starling Marte will probably play one or both games against lefties. And as much as I like Starling Marte, Papi Chulo, he has not hit. He's hitting below the Mendoza line. He's, getting closer and closer. At some point, the Mets are just having to say goodnight to Starling Marte because they got young talent. Do they want to keep Starling Marte here because he's liked in the clubhouse? He could steal a base occasionally. He doesn't play the outfield ever. He's hitting below 200, so I got to see Starling Marte get in a rhythm. Maybe Yankee Stadium does it for him this weekend, but his at-bats have been weak. He's really like a singles hitter now. He doesn't hit for much power, so you'll see Marte this weekend. It's too short to cut the cord on a guy like that, especially a veteran, but at some point that's going to be a question, the $64,000 question for the Mets this summer, if and when they potentially cut the cord on Starling Marte with an expiring contract.
Right. And I wonder, again, like as far as Soto is concerned, with, Marte seemingly being one of his closer friends on the team, does that weigh into the equation at all? Like, I guess time will tell. But, it's going to be exciting. Francisco Lindor, he seems to be a terror to the Yankees. There was that 3 home run game at Citi Field in 2021, and I think his numbers at Yankee Stadium are really, really good. So it's going to be in the Yankees' best interest to limit him at the top of that order, because then it just makes everything easier as far as with Soto and Alonso. So for the Yankees, they need to find a way to keep 1, 2, and 3 off the base paths, because if not, we may have, some high-scoring games on our hands.
And for the Mets, can you walk Aaron Judge? It's almost like nobody is walking this guy, and I get it. Goldschmidt's been good. But I'd rather pitch to Goldschmidt. I'd rather pitch to Cody Bellinger than I would Aaron Judge.
And it's not even Goldschmidt that bats behind Judge, because they like to split up the righties and lefties. Typically, it's Bellinger. So, yeah, like if I'm the Mets, if I'm other teams, that's a walk situation as much as you can possibly do. And I know, and Judge as well, I believe his numbers, versus everyone, they're good. I think he's done well versus the Mets, since he's been in the bigs. So
no one's walking him. I'm like, it should.
Yeah.
I get it. Base is empty. You don't want to walk a guy. But if it's a one-run game or it's tied, would you rather walk him or he hits a home run and you're losing? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, look, yesterday he hits the winning homer in the 8th inning. I would certainly, if I'm other teams, I'd pitch around him. For some reason, they don't. I don't really get it. But that whole Judge versus Soto storyline you have as well, which is going to be, a thing. Even though it's so much bigger than that.
Soto's going to homer, he's going to look out to Judge. Judge plays center, right? Or he plays right.
Right field.
He plays right. So
yeah.
He's going to look out to right. He's going to point out there. He already points out there anyway, usually the bullpen. He's going to look at him and give him a smirk, and there's going to be a great video or gif of that.
I told you that I thought, and again, this is coming from someone that just is used to Juan Soto delivering in the big moments, and I thought that he was going to do something either like the opening day or the home opener, some special occasion. I just feel like, I hope not, but I feel like it's all geared up for Yankee Stadium, the return, maybe even the first at-bat, honestly. Carlos Rodon does give up his fair share of home runs.
What's annoying is it takes forever to get into that stupid stadium because security lines are nuts. That even with clear, I've never seen, and this isn't a knock. It's not because I'm a Mets fan. I think Yankee fans, you agree, because every Yankee fan I talk to, they like going to Citi Field more than Yankee Stadium. Getting in that ballpark, even trying to get to the clear line because there's no space clear to get to clear, is you got to know a guy. And my buddy does know a guy, so I'm going to hope I could find the guy that he knows to get in. But if you don't know a guy, and even then it's hard, it takes forever, and it's like a Friday night and people got work. I don't, but like I'm gonna try to get there early, but I'm gonna be getting videos.
Same.
You got a pregame at Twins, at Billy's, at Stan's, wherever. Like you don't want to go in too early because the drinks inside are pricey. So you want to get even though the drinks outside are basically the same price. Like getting in. I don't know how they haven't solved this. I don't know what the solve is, but it moves at a snail's pace. And if you get in line at 6:45, you're missing Soto's first at bat.
It's highly frustrating. Especially in the playoffs, and this is going to have a playoff type atmosphere and feel, but I was so frustrated. I've typically been able to get in before first pitch, but for game one of the ALDS last year, Yankees Royals, which at the same time the Mets were beating the Phillies in game one in Philly. The Yankees, I missed like the first inning and a half, I got there well in advance, and there was just no movement at all, no structure, no direction. I have my own little tricks of doing the best I kind of get in there. But still, it's just not good. And
the games are shorter. So when you're inning late and you still haven't got food or drink yet, you're missing a third of the game because of their issues. And when you're charging max prices, like it's not cheap to go to a Yankee game, and now it's not cheap to go to a Met game. Mets sold out of season tickets. They've gotten more expensive too. Like, I don't know. Mets moves quicker. Now the Mets issue is that they need I don't know if the Yankees they open an hour and a half or 2 hours. Mets open hour and a half now instead of 2 hours.
I believe doors open at 5, like for I think 5:30 typically for a 7:00 game.
So hour and a half. Like sure. Both these stadiums, you can't pay employees. You don't have enough food to open 30 minutes. That makes a big difference because that clogs up a lot, and like especially giveaway days. Get back to opening 2 hours before. Like, God forbid you got to pay workers to be there an extra hour or so. Like, the congestion it causes, the drama it causes outside, it's the dumbest thing, and it's the easiest fix. Get back to either 2 or 2.5 hours before. Get people in, because then it's going to make it easier too before first pitch, because if people know it's open 2 hours before, you're going to get those people who are there extra early in. It's just it's a flow. It's an assembly line. It's going to move quicker if you open earlier.
Definitely. And for someone like myself, especially with the pitch clock, I'm one that I like to watch the game. And so, if I can get there before the game, maybe I will, be able to get some food, get some drink. But like, if I'm not going to be getting there till first pitch, I don't know if I'm going to have time to squeak in, being able to get a beverage or being able to get some food. So I just think it's in their best interest as well.
Being able to get that Benihana bowl, baby. That's maybe one of my favorite parts of that stadium. So the food review, I was asking on TikTok, I was told I should probably do the tiramisu bowl as a review this year. That's the viral sensation. I was told I probably should take a Lactaid before. I haven't really had tiramisu, so I didn't know that it contains like cheese, like some form of, it was like some I'm Italian. I didn't know do you know the cheese word? It's in it's like, it's not macaroni. It's I got to look it up, but it has some kind of, it's mascarpone cheese in it. So I am going to have Lactaid strapped on me and try out this tiramisu bowl, and it's going to make a mess. Like it's like brown sugar. So it's going to look, it might look sloppy, but I'm told, because the Judge burger to me is just an overrated burger with like a 99 sticker for his number in it, and was like a viral thing, but not that good. Where I think the tiramisu thing is kind of a cool stadium thing. Like I had the s'mores quesadilla at Citizens Bank Park 2 weeks ago. That was cool. Like
that looked cool.
Yeah, that
looked really cool.
It's a cool thing. It's different, and I like to try. I get mad when people are like, I just want a hot dog. I'm like, no, screw you. You can make a hot dog in the backyard barbecue with your Uncle Jimmy. Like you're not getting a friggin' hot dog at the game. And I get it. It's hot dog baseball. But when you got lobster rolls, tiramisu, steak sandwiches, and you're choosing a hot dog, if it's because you don't have the money, fine. I get that. It's expensive. But if you're going, especially for the people who are like, I'm going to one game a year, I'm going to get a hot dog. You're going to one game a year, and you're not going to try the best food possible, you dumb piece of what. Like, eat the good stuff or you're a loser. Sorry.
Not to put you on blast, but will you be able to do a Legends food review?
Yeah, I will try. I did one last year because I did the pork shank. Actually, the romantic interest I had, there was their first time in there. How about that? But it still ended. But we did a pork shank food review. A lovely
pork shank.
Pork shank. Pork shank. Like I didn't even heard of that word shank. I had to do it. It was like massive. So I'm going to do my best either Saturday or Sunday to do the food in there is just remarkable. So hopefully that is coming.
We'll be looking forward to the food reviews, looking forward to the Subway series. Jake, it was a pleasure having you on. Again, I want everyone, to know Mets Daily on YouTube, writing on the Mets on Sports Illustrated. Jake, anywhere else we can find you?
At Jake Brown Radio and all social. I might be changing the username soon, so stay tuned for that to something different. But it's been that for a long, long time. It used to be J Swag. That was my college rap name, but I outgrew that. Then it became Jake Brown Radio. But now that radio is slowly dying into the sunset, I might move on from the radio name and move on to a new chapter in this journey. But yeah, Mets and SI. Mets Daily is going to be starting membership soon, where we're going to be doing giveaways each month. We're going to be doing like exclusive weekend shows, doing different watch parties. So that'll be coming probably next week. So trying to expand that. We launched in January. We're at like 1,400 subscribers. Still not a lot, but doing all right in growth. And, I'm sorry in advance if you watch and the headlines. I don't make the headlines. I know they're corny. I know they're cringeworthy, but they bring in clicks. They say I hate them, but don't like me less because of the headlines, because it's not my fault.
And then you have a guest as well.
Yeah, usually once a week we do a guest, sometimes twice a week. Nelson Figueroa, my old Amazing but True New York Post co-host, is on once a month. I like to have the Mets content creators on. It's harder without Figgy now, booking some of these guests. I try to get a Terry Collins. I'll probably have him on at some point, but getting the Wrights, Piazzas of the world, not being at the Post, and not having a former Met by my side is a little more difficult. Not that they dislike me, but they're also like, who is this fat ball guy? I don't really care about coming on a show. It gets a little bit more difficult. So, yeah, fun Mets content creators, and they do a good job. Wardy, Giraffe Neck Mark, the Why Am I a Mets Fan pod girls, they've both been on my show. So if you're a Mets fan, you kind of are familiar with some of those people, and it's been fun. And, this team is easy to cover this year so far. They've been tough for most of my life. It won't be easy, going through the daily grind. Daily show is a lot of work, but, at least they're good this year. And, covering the Jets, doing a Jets show with the Post for many years, that's why I'm bald, essentially. Is that team alone. They bring me depression. I can't say Jets Flight Club podcast will be back because I'm not sure yet, but that is the other show I would say. When the Jets season comes, I'll probably be doing that show or some Jets show as well, but they bring me a lot more pain, so that's not guaranteed.
Yeah, hey, at least you got the Mets, and the Knicks are on the verge of, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. So a lot going on in New York. Happy to have you on, Jake, and hopefully we can talk again before 4th of July for the series at Citi Field.
Part 2. Hopefully we take 2 out of 3. May the best team win. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having me on, and enjoy the series. We'll see you in the ballpark. We'll see you at Yankee Stadium this week.
Thanks, Jake.
Yes, sir.